right by where the camera is. I'm about 10 minutes till I get to work, a little bit more. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about yesterday's election. I'm trying very much to detox from politics and to separate myself. I recognize that for me it's a source of anxiety that isn't necessary and really not healthy. It doesn't help much. But nonetheless, there's a lot going on in the world that needs to be addressed. And I know there might be a handful of people who might want to have a discussion with us here, and we can continue the discussion in the comments below. In any event, let's look at the various elections that were on the... To me, it was not a surprise that Donnie won. We see, all those people who said, "Oh, Kurt should have, stepped out. It would not have made a difference. Was not enough to change anything." Would have been maybe a lot closer. Really, that much closer. Not even within the margin of error. So we are where we are in New York City. A lot of people, my friends, are blaming Satmar for this. Now, I believe Satmar here did the smart thing. Now, I totally condemn Mamdani's socialism and Marxism. I think that is a big danger, and for that reason, I opposed him. Not that it's any of my business, really. I don't live in New York City. But I discourage people, whoever asked me, no one really asked me. The matter is, when it comes to other issues in New York City, Jewish issues that actually affect New York City, not Israel issues, but actual Jewish issues, of which the biggest one is the yeshivas, that they're self-hating Jews, mostly people, apostates who left our faith, who start like Yafed and other things to try to close down our yeshivas and take away our religious freedom. And that is just freedom of the yeshivas. And so that reason, he was probably from the three the best candidate for the Jewish community. Sliwa, who might have been the best mayor from New York City, in any event, has a love-hate relationship, to say the best, with the ultra-Orthodox communities. I believe he sent his Jewish children. One of his wives was Jewish, and he has Jewish, something like Solomon Schechter, not sure. Which now, most of the Solomon Schechters in New York have become modern Orthodox instead of conservative. So there's a lot of change in the world right now. But nonetheless, it was pretty obvious that Mamdani was going to win. And Satmar is very smart. They bet on the winners. And however, in order to, and for the most part, though, my understanding was that they didn't. They hedged their bets. What I hear was that the Reb Zalman Leib's faction remained neutral, and Reb Aharon's faction officially supported Cuomo. Yet, you had Moshe Indig, who's the editor of the Blad, which is Reb Aharon newspaper, supporting Mamdani, but nothing really official. However, for the most part, really, at least boots on the ground, Mamdani was probably going to be the best for the community, not just for Satmar, but for the entire ultra-Orthodox, at least, community in New York City. And the Zionist issue is besides the point. I'm very disappointed with New Jersey. I guess I kind of expected Virginia to go this way, but also very disappointed. It shows that the Democrats are still racists. And that's the one thing that I always bring up. They say, "Oh, the people who are against Mamdani, they're Islamophobic." Mamdani's not a Muslim. There's a picture of him in a mosque wearing shoes. Everybody knows you take your shoes off when you go in a mosque. He's not a Muslim. He doesn't go to Juma every week. He's a kufar.
He's just pretending to be Muslim. He's as Muslim as Bernie Sanders is Jewish. That's nonsense. He's not a Muslim. But all these people say, oh, it's Islamophobia that people hated Mamdani. Why wasn't it Islamophobia when they went against Dr. Oz? Dr. Oz would have been the first Muslim to be a senator in the United States Senate. And yet, nobody said it was Islamophobia when people voted for Fetterman. So, the whole, and the same thing here. They said it was, if people were supporting Winsome Sears, a black woman, over a blonde white woman, that somehow it was misogyny to be against, to vote for a black woman. So the Democrats are just phonies and racists. I thought Jack Ciattarelli had a good chance. That kind of upset me more. Pennsylvania, the big upset was that they maintained the Supreme Court. People who were really behind what happened, that which we are not supposed to talk about on YouTube. I don't know if that's still the rule. But that was disappointing. In my local, I live in the town of Bethel, New York, and I saw right in our face voter suppression. That there was when I came to vote, and I wasn't wearing my Hasidic levush, I wasn't wearing Hasidic garb, I was wearing my uniform from work, and they had to see, was I on the list? And there was a list whose votes were challenged. And I don't usually talk this way. I said, oh, they're challenging Jews now. I said, oh, that wasn't it, but we got this list of challenge votes and this and that. I believe that the candidate that as it is now, the candidate that I voted for won in the local race. And I'm hoping, but there we see a different type of thing. You have a lot of really self-hating Jews who are fighting against the Orthodox Jews. And that's what's really going on there. And they're saying it's about the environment, this and that, but it's really about they don't want Hasidim moving in. And that's what's going on right now in my little town. That on the edge of the town, which I really thought was the next town over, but it happens that that's still in our town, right by the border. The Square Hasidim, I believe, are building, and self-hating Jews are trying to stop it. You're asking, am I LDS? No, I'm Jewish. My in-laws were LDS, but no, I'm a Hasidic Jewish rabbi. I just got to work. I do have friends in the LDS church and family. Well, I guess not, because most of them have left. My in-laws' family, who are still alive, none of them, but my in-laws were LDS. My wife converted to Judaism over 20 years ago from that church. So, but no, I'm not LDS. All right, I have to go to work now. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sorry I was saying family. I'm not sure what you're saying there. You don't have to be sorry. It's okay. That was a little funny. All right. I got to go to work now. Have a wonderful day. God bless. And don't be discouraged. Be strong and of good courage. You know, I saw Yoni Hanowitz on who's a comedian, and on Twitter he wrote about how, a serious note, how to deal with his kids' anxiety that Mamdani won. And I think Chabad has to wake up, because if you look at the writings of Chabad, they're more anti-Zionist than Satmar. And yet for PR, they've been pretending to be Zionists for a long time. And I think it's time for that paradigm shift. This is something I've been talking about for decades, that there needs to be a paradigm shift in Kiruv, because a lot of young Jews are no longer Zionists,
and at least we should at least be neutral on that subject and not be pushing Zionism in Kiruv. Generally, the older Jews, you have to use Zionism in Kiruv, and you always had these non-Zionist rabbis, whether Chabad or Sameach or others, pretending to give lip service to Zionism to the point where the next generation didn't even understand that they're not Zionists. I wouldn't say they're anti-Zionists, but they were not Zionists, but they were giving lip service to Zionism for the sake of attracting the estranged Jews who are into Zionism. And it's time for Chabad to go back to their roots, to learn the Rebbe Rashab, even the Rebbe Ayadz. And the truth is, even the last Rebbe also had a lot of anti-Zionist views. He just kept it under the under wraps. You know, he actually had a subscription to Hachoma. Hi, Rabbi. Welcome. Thank you. And you're in West Orange, New Jersey. You know, Rabbi, you're 11, but you're assistant rabbi. You're just playing jokes on me now. All right. So, as always, I have to go back to work. Thank you for watching. All right. I wish you a lot of hatzlacha. But really, if the truth is, look at the Rebbe Rashab. He was very, very strongly anti-Zionist, and if we want to get more young Jews from the colleges and so forth, and this was already issued 20 years ago, but it's more now, that I think at the very least the Kiruv people are going to have to be neutral, parv, on Zionism, but maybe emphasizing more the non-Zionism and anti-Zionism. And the truth is, Chabad traditionally were very, very strongly anti-Zionist. The Shleimus Haaretz is not a Zionist idea, by the way, because you can have Shleimus Haaretz without sovereignty. Think about that. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later. All right.